speaking of finding value anywhere, Bitcoin Ordinals. So I like this story. So the allure of Bitcoin Ordinals, DeFi drives crypto funds to Bitcoin layer 2 token stacks. I think it's kind of cool that Stacks is finally getting its due, quite frankly. So Stacks is a company that's been around a long time. It's a layer 2 protocol built on top of Bitcoin. And the whole point of the Stacks network is for DeFi on Bitcoin. They are not co-opting the narrative of NFTs on Bitcoin, because they've been offering this as an option on Stacks for quite a while. So back in 2017, it was a company called Blockstack, and it was started by Ryan Shea, who's a real Bitcoin OG. He's been around forever. And he started this layer 2 for Bitcoin back in 2017. And people were like, what the heck? Why are you doing this? All you're doing is creating an altcoin, only they did not use the word altcoin, in order to transact on Bitcoin. And the cool thing, as any layer 2, is everything is finalized on the Bitcoin blockchain, but it takes the data off of the blockchain itself, off the Bitcoin blockchain itself. Now, there are two reasons why this is kind of cool. One is that, as I say, it's got some pedigree. It's been around a long time. This is not some new thing that just got spun up in order to take advantage of the NFTs on Bitcoin, the ordinals on Bitcoin narrative. The second thing is, Stacks, when they first did this, they went to the SEC back in 2018, and they got their STX token approved. It is not a security. It was deemed not a security in 2021. That means that investors can legally trade the STX token in the US on crypto exchanges. And that's a really big deal right now when everything is being scrutinized. So these are very safe tokens, and they are meant to encourage DeFi on Bitcoin, which is, kind of the big deal right now. So, yeah. Wendy, you must have something to say about that.
Oh, I definitely do. And I'm here to bring the heat. So we all talk about operating in a true decentralized economy, and we all see the Bitcoin maximalists just completely hate every single altcoin or every single cryptocurrency that isn't Bitcoin. So congratulations to that. But what they don't know that they're doing is, because they're sitting here hating on all these altcoins so much, they're actually encouraging DeFi to flourish on Bitcoin. And that requires altcoins to be created to process some of these things, some of these layer 2 solutions, et cetera, for the Bitcoin ordinals and for different DeFi applications on Bitcoin. So I guess they kind of screwed themselves by doing that. But I think it's a cool thing. And I like to see innovation being built on Bitcoin. I do personally think that Satoshi would be proud about this, because you're supposed to create. And again, I stand by this argument. If we did not have altcoins, Bitcoin would not be where it is today. Well, Jen?
I could take it quickly, and then I'll pass it.
Jen, up to you.
Are we just going to... Okay. I'll take it quickly. I'm with Christy. I really like this story. I want to point to North Rock Digital mentioned their investment thesis in the article. They said that Stacks offers several advantages over blockchains like Ethereum, including lower fees, faster transaction times, and enhanced security. I think this is really interesting, right? Because we're seeing all of these layer 2s pop up on Ethereum trying to do this exact same thing. And then we have Bitcoin, who's kind of just been doing the same thing for a while. We have Stacks, and now there's this same offering over on Bitcoin. Why I think this is interesting is because Bitcoin has been around so much longer than all of these other chains. And if we talk about mainstream adoption, I think, someone hears Bitcoin, they think, oh, like, I know that it's been around for a long time. I haven't heard anything bad about Bitcoin. And now we have Stacks. If you head on over to their website, their communications are really friendly. The way they talk about what's going on is really simple, which I think is different than some of the layer 2s that are coming out on Ethereum. And they're really focused on these like social apps and NFTs. And when they talk about DeFi, they do it in a way that I think is a little bit different than some of the other layer 2s. So I'm with Christy. This is exciting. Will, off to you.
I've come to disagree with all of you guys today. That's the reason why I woke up. So I don't have an opinion necessarily on Stacks. Kind of neutral on it because I have not really investigated it. Like, it has been around for quite a while. They did have that nice SEC thing a few years ago where they're like not a security, which was sort of confusing, but also that did that. So good job on the homework there. The thing that's interesting about this headline and this story is the fact that Ordinals, which is a non-Stacks product, it's a Bitcoin product that only needs Bitcoin to function, is being assumed into this conversation with Stacks. And a lot of these VCs and investors are sort of like pumping their own Stacks investment on the back of Ordinals becoming a thing, which are completely separate. And in fact, Ordinals, the creator, Rotomore, Casey Rotomore, you can find him on Twitter, @Rotomore, tweeted that he hates Stacks. And yet these people are looking at this and combining the two stories. And I think that's like very common in crypto though, right? Like we have similar products, similar projects, and then people sort of lump them together and then bake their investment thesis into it. So I'm not saying this is something that's like random or something that's like doesn't happen that often, because it does happen quite often where people sort of like pump their own investment thesis. I do think we need to take note of it, however, because there's a big separation between Ordinals, which is Bitcoin only, and Stacks, which is built on top of Bitcoin with its own token. And then the fact that you don't really need them to work together. The Stacks guys even came out to this point over the weekend and tweeted about it a little bit. Forget the guy's name who's talking about it, but very different projects. I don't know whose hand went up. I'll throw it over to Wendy to get her last take on
Christy
it.
wants to
Christy did, and then
battle you on this.
Oh, I want in on this real bad, actually. Okay, yes, they are totally separate projects, except that they are both doing NFTs. So they're not completely different. This is not an apples to oranges
aren't
comparison.
NFTs though, right?
Ordinals create NFTs. At Ordinals, NFTs are being put on Bitcoin via Ordinals. Come on. So that's the conversation. And yes, here we go. So Bitcoin maxis hate Ordinals because it's not a transaction, it's not money, it's stuff that's going to bloat the blockchain and freak out. So then they don't like Stacks because Stacks has an altcoin on it and it settles on the Bitcoin blockchain. So they don't like that either. But you know what? Here's the thing. We are getting both. We are getting two different things, and you can either be Bitcoin only, as in you're going to stuff it into the SegWit field and annoy people that way, or you're going to use Stacks on a layer 2 and use their STX token in order to do that and annoy people that way. So you know what? Somebody's going to get annoyed simply because we're doing something that isn't, peer-to-peer money. It's something else. It's all creative and we can all do the things, right, Wendy?
Well, one of the things I want to say is the Bitcoin narrative has changed over time. When my stepson originally got into Bitcoin, it was literally for P2P transactions. And then it turned into this deflationary thing. And then it turned into you have to hold, you have to stack sats, you cannot sell your Bitcoin. So the narrative changes over time. And I think that's okay. I think it's a beautiful thing. You don't want something to stay stagnant. You want people to be able to use it however it works for them. If you like to hold, great. If you like to dollar cost average, if you like to trade, if you want to use it for P2P transactions, just like Satoshi intended it to be, that's fine too. If you want to inscribe NFTs, Bitcoin ordinals on it, that's fine too. I think the beautiful thing about Bitcoin is we do not have a third party that gets to dictate what we do with Bitcoin. The only impressive third party that we have is some of the toxic maximalists that make it an issue. Will?
Okay, all I'm going to say, just as we go into the break here in a second, is beware of the crypto funds pumping their own investment based on something else happening in the market. This happens time and time again. Something unrelated to their investment occurs, and then they pump their bags with it, and then people buy into it. So just be careful out there. There's a lot of sharks in the water.
I agree 100%.
Okay?